Hello friends, as I promised you in previous video, today we built a register and login form for our web application in NetBeans. Let's firstly add new GSP. We call it register. And let's navigate to Home Servlet and try to display register GSP page in case user navigates to register form. We place else if URI equals register. We just forward user to this register page. Nothing new, the same step as we did in the previous tutorials. To the register GSP, we forward our request and response. Let me try to start the application and check if it works. Register. Here we see our register page. So let's just add some more styles and make our register form pretty. I navigated to CodePen and already found a really pretty register form. It's login form, but it's okay. We just modify it a little bit to fit our requirements. So firstly, we copy HTML and paste it to the GSP inside of the body instead of hello world. And then we just need to copy CSS styles and put it to the header into the style tag. Let's try to run the application and see how it works. Perfect. We have our register form. Right now, let's add some customization to set the form for our requirements. First of all, we need user to enter email and password. Let's change the placeholder to please enter email and please enter password. And we have a button, all as we had in the previous example. We have a form tag. Inside the form we have inputs, and inside inputs we have button. Previously we have not button but input with type submit, which is also button. So we can leave it as button right now, but maybe we will change it to the input submit. So what else do we need? We need a name. Let me copy paste to the type is text. Please enter your name. We will store email, password and name. That's all the data we need when we register our user. Actually, we need just email and password, but whatever. Let's just store a name just to check example we use more fields. Okay, let's give names for our input. First is email, so we give it a name as email. Next one is password, name password, and third one is name is name. By this name values you will grab the params when user will submit the form. So it's important to give these inputs good naming, because it will be easier for you to program and to grab these field values in the future on the backend. And let's just continue. We need to add action, and let's say register. and type, not type, but method is post. Post has one difference versus get is because post sends data in the body, while get sending data in the URL. If you navigate to our page, we already have get form. If you see, we see the value which we entered in the field in the URL, but it's insecure to show the password in the URL because someone can just stand behind your back and see what password did you enter. And it's better for these purposes to use post method, which is not revealing the data in the URL. Okay, let's navigate back to the NetBeans. Change this button from login to register. Let's just remove this login via. We don't need social login. And I guess that's it. Let's check how it looks. Pretty good. And let's navigate back to the NetBeans and to the home servlet. And inside this register, we need to check if it's a get or if it's a post, because it's we are inside process request. As you remember, process request is executing when do get and do post are triggered. So both post and get methods will be will trigger process request. So inside the process request, we should check if it's get or post. So let's just grab the method type from the request. Request get method. Just grab this method to the string. And let's say if method equals get, then we just return register. Else if it's post, or we can just use else. We need to process register logic here. And let's system out print line method to make sure we use this method. Let's restart the application. Where is our register? Here it is. Navigate back to NetBeans. And what we see here is exception. Yeah, it's exception from the Tomcat logs, and it's nothing. Okay, we have get here. So I was right. This request get method returns get or post. It depends what you specify in this form, post or get. If you just request URL, like in this example, it's get. When you submit the form using post method, it's post. And let's process register logic here. First of all, we need grab the string values into the Java string object. Yes, string email, or let me just check. Yeah, email equals request get param email. Remember, this email parameter is the same name as you have in the name attribute. So for the password, we type string password equals request get parameter password. For the name, we do the same. And we should pass this email password name to some class to continue with storing this data into database. Let's navigate to our packages and create new package service. Let's create new class. And call it users service. Instead of class, let's make this class as interface to achieve loose coupling. And let's create a method register. In the incoming request, we gonna pass email, password, and name. In the same package, let's create new class, user service impl, which gonna implement our user service. And now we need a user model. We already have user model with name, email, and age. Let's add new field. Let's add a getter and setter for the password. And let's also add equals and hash code to this class. And we can also add toString method. Except for the password. We don't want to write password in the console because password is kind of sensitive info. So you don't need your users identify that you print their passwords inside some log statements. It's unsecure for them and for you actually. So we just avoid printing password in the toString. Let's get back to the user service implementation and create new user object, user model, users model, user equals new user, and we set user set email as email, user set password as password, and user set name as name. Good. And now we need to save this user into the database. Okay, let's create, first of all, you need a database. In this video, we will use MySQL database. I already downloaded it and started. NetBeans has some tooling for the database connection. In the database, you can create, click to the new connection. You can select the database, Postgres or MySQL or Oracle, whatever database you use. In case you don't have drivers, just download the drivers from the internet. Something like MySQL connector driver jar download. And you just navigate to the MySQL official website and download a missing driver. As you can see, I already have this driver. Let's click to the next, and you need to specify the credentials for your database. It's a host. If your database is running on your local machine, it's localhost. If you didn't change the port, the default port for MySQL is 30306, so it's default port. You need to specify the username and password, and actually that's it. And database can be any database you want. Using password. Let's try once again. Yeah, connection succeeded. And I need some database. Let me just try without database. Finish. Here is my connection. So I can see my databases. I can create a new database if I want, or I can use some existing database which I created previously. Let me just use this test DB. Here I have test table. Let me create new table. Let's call my table users table. Add a column, its ID, it's an int, it's primary key, and I need this ID to be auto increment. So in the check I can specify increment by 1, and default is 1. And that's how I can also, instead of int, I can select also big int, but I guess for my purposes int is enough. And I can click OK. Next column is email. If this is a text type, or I can create a varchar type, size as 50 signs, I guess that will be enough, and my email should be unique and not null. Click OK. And next one is password. It's also varchar, and let's increase capacity to 500 because we gonna store our passwords maybe in the encrypted view, and encrypted passwords have a big capacity. Okay, and name. It's also text or varchar. Let's add 50 and click OK. Here's my users table: ID, email, password, and name. And I need to somehow connect my Java application to this MySQL. For these purposes, I'm gonna use JDBC. JDBC is de facto standard for the Java applications to connect to the database. And first of all, I need a Java driver dependency for MySQL. I navigate to the Google and JDBC driver MySQL and Maven. Because I use Maven, I need Maven dependency. Let's grab not the latest one, but maybe some sort of stable one. I navigate to NetBeans, to the POM XML, and add my dependency. And okay, right now everything okay. Next, I added JDBC, and right now I need to create a class to be responsible for the connection to my database. Actually, connect Java to the database is pretty simple. Everything is already tested. You probably saw a lot of tutorials how to connect Java to the database. Let's create a new package and call it config. Sorry, not this. Java package config, and create new class connection fix. This class will return me my connection. I need a connection from the Java SQL package to be able to execute requests to the database. So I create a method to return my connection. First of all, I need to specify the driver which I'm gonna use to get the connection. It's MySQL JDBC driver. So I print class for name, and here is my driver com MySQL JDBC driver, and I need to catch an exception. And I need to say driver manager. It's a standard class from the SQL, Java SQL package. It's the library the Java developers prepared for you to work with the database. Java driver manager get connection. Get connection is overloaded, and it receives information according to your connection. It can be URL, it can be the URL, the login and password, etc. So we just gonna specify JDBC MySQL, the host of your database is localhost, and the port is default. As we remember, it's 3306. The database name is testdb, and the username is root, and password is also root. but the username and password and the database name can be different in your project. It depends which values you specified when you installed your MySQL and when you created your database. Let me surround with try catch and return this connection. This driver manager get connection, returns connection, otherwise return null, for example. And actually that's it about getting connection. Let's navigate back to the project structure and create new package. A lot of packages, but it's really convenient when you program a big project to have a lot of classes separated into different packages, so your project will have a stable structure and you will be able to navigate through the classes and packages with the ease and without getting confused where your classes and packages are located. So if you give your packages good naming and if you give your classes a good naming, it will be easier for you and for your friends or your coworkers to read your code in the future. So let's just create new package and call it DAO. And DAO, it's a database access object. And let's create new class and call it users DAO. Users database access object, and finish. Let's create our first method. It's register user. Public void. Let's call this method save, and we're gonna save users model into the database. First of all, we need a connection, so we can use this static. We can make this method as static, and we can use something like this: connection equals db get connection. And when we need to prepare a statement, we have a prepared statement class from the Java SQL library. Prepared statement equals connection prepared statement. And we need to write in the prepare statement, we need to write an SQL query to save our user. Let's write this query. So on this step, you actually need to know not only HTML, but also SQL. It's necessary when you're working with Java on big enterprise projects, because most of them, not really most, but all of them will have the connection to the database, because big projects, big real projects store the information, and usually it's the relational database. If it's not relational database, but most projects use relational database, so you just need to know the SQL. I'm lucky because I already know the SQL, so I just print insert into my table, users table. Inside the users table, I'm gonna put email, password, and name, values. And values, I'm gonna put like question mark. Why it's question mark? Because it's placeholders for the parameters. Let me surround my statement with try catch, and let me put, instead of these placeholders, real values. So here how it executes is it's a prepare statement, set string, and here's the position of the question mark and the value. So position is 1, value is user get email. Why it's yellow? So next one is position 2, it's password, get password, and position 3 it's name. And we need to execute query. Prepare statement, execute update. That's it. This execute update returns a result, actually. As you can see in the documentation, it returns either 1 or 2. For SQL statement, then return nothing. We will ignore this return for now. And let's get back to our service. And as you guys maybe know or maybe don't know, Servlet in Java is multi-threading. So when user makes a request to your servlet, it starts a new thread, and everything in this servlet executes in a separate thread. So if your class uses some shared resources, it's good for them to be thread safe. Concurrency in Java and multi-threading is really a wide topic, and I'm not gonna stop here on concurrency to explain you this. So right now what I'm gonna do is just create this class as Singleton to return only single instance of my user service user service and my DAO in the state. So when I create my class as Singleton, I can be sure that only one instance of user's DAO will be present at the moment when my application is running. To make the class as Singleton, it's easy. You just need to create a private constructor and create a method which will return an instance of your class. And let's create private constructor. Users DAO. So when you created a private constructor, no one can create an instance of your class. They can't just do something like, for example, user server. Where's my DAO? In the user service, they can just do something like this. Users DAO. A new users DAO or something. You can see it's red because my users DAO is private. No one can create an instance. So I just need to create a method which will create instance for them, and this method will be responsible to create only one single instance of my users DAO. First of all, I need to create an instance. Users DAO, and I need to create public static users DAO get instance. I can make this method as synchronized, and I will be sure that it's thread safe. If instance is null, then I need to create a new instance of user DAO and return my instance. Something like that. And then my class is Singleton right now, and it's a thread safe. So if I want to use my users DAO in the user service, I just need to do something like that. Users DAO and get instance, and call my method save user. That's it. Here I have my save method. Let's create a singleton for my user service impl. And that's it. And we need to use our user service in the home servlet. Process register logic. Here we can remove these comments, and user service impl get instance register. Here we have our register method. Let's try to register some user, and let's just add here button to navigate to register, because I don't want every time and to register by hand, so we just need to add a tag. Let's restart the application. Navigate to register, email. We don't have a validation right now, so it's possible for now just to put invalid email, and that's not okay. It's good to have a validation. Maybe we will add this validation later. Add a password, let's say admin, and name, and click register. And here we have our null pointer exception. Let's get back to the code and see where we have this exception. Null pointer, no suitable driver found. Interesting. Let's make a Maven clean install. Maybe this time my application doesn't see the dependency which I added. Let's create Maven, run Maven, clean install. Let's restart the application. Let's navigate to register, name, it's email. It's admin and name, and click register. here we have our register. It's blank because we didn't create any logic in the servlet for the registration, but I guess everything is fine. User DAO save its previous null pointer. Let's get back to the database and check if we have our user. View data. It's here we have our user. Here we have email, password, and name. Right now password is not encrypted, but that's okay. We just test our application locally. Okie dokie, let's just try to add some logic to redirect my user. When my user registered, I want him to redirect to the login when he enters his credentials, and then just navigates to his home page, for example. Let's create new page and call it login. New GSP login. Click finish. Let's just copy paste register page to the login. Let's change this button to the login. Change the action to login. We don't need to place a name when we log in. And let's navigate to the home servlet and say else if URI is equals to login, then we forward user to the login page. And let me get back to the login. Maybe we enter email, password. Okay, we change everything. Let's get back to the home servlet. And the same as we have in the register. Yeah. Let's copy paste from the register. If method is get, then we just show login page. If method is post, we just need to authenticate the user. So let's get back to the service and say users model authenticate string email, string password. Let's get back to the user service impl, implement method, and let's navigate to the user DAO and execute a new query. Public users model find by password, let's say by email and password. What is authentication actually? A user enters email and password. We just get this email and password and check if such user exists in the database but by this email and password. And if we found a user, that means okay, everything is fine, user is found, and we can just return the user. If user is not found in the database, that means that some credentials are incorrect. That's what we actually trying to do. Just find the user by email and password. So we just paste string email, string password. And let's execute the query to get this email and password. And we need to prepare statement. Right now I change this statement to the select from users table where email equals and password equals. Actually that's it. And we need to specify email and password instead of the question mark. And we need to execute query. Execute query. Execute query returns us result set. A result set contains the information from the result. So we can print something like the result set equals prepared statement execute query, and we can get the information from the result set. So I can check if rs next is a method moves cursor forward one row from its current position. The cursor is initially positioned before the first row. Here are the rows. Let me show you once again. Here is our rows. And where is my SQL execution? Here's my rows. First row, ID, email, admin password. This is first row. If I add another user, it will be second row. So right now, the result set is on the position 0. And when I call next, it moves the cursor forward one row from its current position. And first, initially it's before the first row. So when I call if rs next, it moves cursor from the initial position to the first position. And if in this position there will be a data, if it will find some data in the database, then I will receive my data and I can get the data. So let me just check the if I have a data, rs get string, and I can use or get string by email, by the field name, or by the field position from the database. So I can just use something like this. Email is on the second position because on the first position is ID. Something like that. And here's my ID, string, it's my email, I already have email value, and etc. Let me create a new user. User set. You know, I forgot to add ID to my user's model. Right now, it's not necessary for my purposes. But let's get back and set. it's really important to have an ID, and insert the code getter and setter ID, and we need to regenerate equals and hash code to use ID in these methods. And let's also regenerate to string. Except password, we remember. Okay, now our code looks better. Let's get back, set ID. Let's just skip these variables and put these variables directly into users field. User set email, email address, and user set name. If I found a user, let me do this one. If user is found, it will be returned with the fields. Otherwise, it will be null. And I need to add this sign, select from all from users table where email and password are $signs placeholder, and I need to call this method into my user service. So I just need to execute users DAO find by email and password, and return by its okay. And let's add some logic. Users model. Let's add some logic to the service. So, if, for example, we found a user, if user is null, it means that credentials are incorrect. Yes, let's just throw some exception. Let's write some custom exception to throw. Let me navigate to the packages, create one package. Yeah, a lot of packages exception. And let's call it authentication exception. It's a custom exception. Everyone who learned Java core and faced this exception, you know what I'm doing. Extends exception public So when I throw, I call auth exception, my exception class receives only message, and I will put a message with an exception, and then in the get message I just return my custom message for the exception. So in the user service I just throw my new auth exception, and I say credentials are incorrect because I haven't found user in the database, and I add to the method signature, and otherwise I return user. Why I should remove override, I don't get. Interesting. Okay, let's just ignore it for now. I can't ignore it. Okay, let's just remove override. What's happening with my method? Let me comment it. Something wrong with my method. Here's my method. Everything is fine. Return null, for example. Okay, it's not. Let me uncomment this one. Copy paste. And comment once again. And put it. It's string. Oh man. Yeah. Probably need to finish this tutorial because, you know, guys, I just started to miss a lot of stuff, a lot of simple stuff. Throws auth exception. Yeah, I know that I need to pass it to the parent. I know it. Okay, now it's green. Fine. Yeah, interesting. Okay, so in the auth method, we just get the email and password, try to search user by email and password, and in case we found user, we just return user. Otherwise, we throw auth exception. Let's navigate to home servlet, and we just need to call instead of register auth email password. This auth method throws an exception, so we need to surround it with try catch. And in case I have exception, I just need to return user some error. Let's get back to my pages. View, new, GSP error. Let's say this error message I'm gonna put to the attribute request set attribute error message, x get message. Here it is. And in case error, I need to return error. And if everything is okay, let's say that everything is fine. I successfully authenticated user, users model, user. I can put this user to the session actually and use this user in the further actions. And I also can show user some, for example, hidden page. Let's make our main page hidden. For example, let's make this page to be closed from the unauthenticated users. Let's navigate to the home servlet, and in case I say have user, I just need to redirect him to the main page. Okay, to redirect, request can not also forward request, but also redirect user to some page. So we need to say request redirect, not request, sorry, response redirect to the location. I want to redirect my user to the main page. That's it. And let's just, for now, let's just restart the application and check if everything works as we expect. And navigate auth. And let me recall login, sorry, login. Here my login page. If I log in, credentials are incorrect because I entered incorrect credentials. And let me enter correct credentials actually. Now let me try to find my credentials for my previously registered user. View data, it's email and admin. Let's enter email and admin and click login, and you can see, guys, I see my main page. But actually right now anyone who is not authenticated can see main page. So what I want to do is just put my user to the session. Session is a really powerful tool in Java when you can put any object in the session and it will be present in the session while user is working with your application until your session is expires. So let me just create a session. Okay, let's create HttpSession. Request get session. In this session, we can put our user. Session and set attribute user and our user object. Here it is. And in the main page, we can check if request get session get attribute user is null, then it means that user is not authenticated yet. So we just need to throw an error, or just copy paste an error. Error message: user is not authenticated. Something like that. And we forgot, when we register our user, we forgot to add redirect. When user registered successfully, response send redirect to login. And I guess that's it. Let's start the application and test it. Here we on our application, and let's navigate to the main page. User is not authenticated. As you can see, when you enter the name, it doesn't matter. User is not authenticated. Email, and name. Register. And let's get back to the main page and register one user. Email one, name one. Register. So email one, login, and here you see our secret page. If you navigate to the same page through the incognito mode, you see something went wrong. And yeah, actually that's it, what I wanted to show you today, guys. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, it's really important. Stay tuned, wait for new videos. I prepare a lot of new videos for you. And yeah, have a nice day. Goodbye.